Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming to our session today on the digital supply chain. I've got a few housekeeping items that I've got to share with you. First, you are encouraged to open the Q&A tool on the app now so you are ready to ask a question. Second, after the session, please complete the evaluation on the app. You can read all bios of our speakers in the app as well. Okay, well, again, thanks for being here. My name is Tom Kretschmer. I'm the Vice President and General Manager of Ryder's Retail and Consumer Brands Industry Vertical. I've been with the company for a little more than 20 years. I've spent time in all of Ryder's verticals in supply chain, automotive and industrial, technology and healthcare, consumer packaged goods, and now I've been leading the retail group for the last couple of years. So with that, I'll let our two panelists introduce themselves. Tom?
Sure. Good afternoon, Tom Croswick. I'm Group Director of Product Development and Innovation for Ryder. Been with Ryder 26 years. Started off in logistics engineering and have done a lot of solution development for Ryder. In the last 3 years, I've been involved in product development and innovation. And we'll be talking a lot about some of the technologies that we've been recently piloting today.
Good afternoon, I'm Rohan Bhargav, Lead Application Engineer at Fetch Robotics. I've been working at Fetch for past 2 years. Before that, I was working on drones and underwater vehicles. In here, we'll be talking about the stuff that we've been doing with Ryder and Fetch Robotics partnership. And I've been responsible for all the pre-sales interactions, and we'll hopefully in the presentation we'll cover various kinds of robots at Fetch.
All right, thanks, guys. So the way this session is going to work is I'm going to just briefly cover, to reintroduce Ryder to you. We're going to cover quickly some retail challenges and the components of the digital supply chain. We're going to share a video on smart warehousing. We'll have a poll question associated with that. We'll get in deeper talks about some of the robotics with Fetch Robotics. Rohan will share that, and then I'll ask some questions of our experts. I sit in front of customers all day, and hopefully I'll ask some questions that are relevant to you and that you can take away. All right, so quickly on Ryder, some of you may know who we are, and maybe for many different things. I think we've got great brand recognition. We've been around for 85 years, as a matter of fact, but unfortunately for those of us in the supply chain group, it's around yellow trucks, right? When you think of Ryder, I don't think we've got a yellow truck in the fleet. So, we're broken up into 3 business units. We've got FMS, which is Fleet Management Solutions, and that's equipment and leasing, maintenance, fuel, used vehicle sales, rental. We've got DTS, which is Dedicated Transportation Solutions with just Ryder drivers and Ryder equipment, and then Supply Chain Solutions, where Tom and I reside, and the predominance of our revenue comes from transportation management and warehouse management. And so we're a Fortune 500 provider of outsourced transportation and logistics services. We've got over $7 billion in revenue, and I think just a few of the statistics you see on the slide that I think kind of get you a feel for the kind of scale. We're operating 50 million square feet of warehousing, over 240,000 vehicles, and over 8,000 professional drivers. And no, you can't have them if you're with a trucking company. So if we get into the challenges in retail, I think the story around e-com, I'm sure you're hearing it in every session, is around the growth of e-com. I think it only made, depending upon who you talk to, it's about 12% of total retail sales in 17, and brick and mortar is about 1 to 2% growth, and 9 to 10 on e-com. So it certainly creates a lot of challenges in the supply chain. You got omni-channel, just multiple channels, creates complexity for both the retailers and the supply chain folks. You've got the high costs associated with operating large stores, and then big data around predicting customer demand. I think what's near and dear to our hearts is around this demand and fulfillment centers. It's amazing. We just did an RFP for a large retailer, and they said we wanted a 600,000 square foot building in a certain area, and we had to go out 650 miles to find a warehouse that fit. So if that gives you any feel for the availability of space, certainly there's a demand on warehouse workers. I don't think it's reached the driver level, but there's certainly a demand there. And then all the while, you've got Amazon, with the focus on customer experience. You've got to have great speed and reliability and predictability, and you got to be able to do that inside those four walls with massive volume swings due to, tied to e-com. But to make it real, I think we've got, there's just more and more bankruptcies on the retail side. You've got H.H. Gregg and Radio Shack and in the Limited and Toys R Us. But what we hope is that some of the things that we talk about today in the digital supply chain can help you power through some of these challenges. And so here's the way that we look at it at Ryder. We break it down into four groups. I think if you don't kind of compartmentalize it, I think you'll end up trying to boil the ocean and get nowhere fast. So we break it down into supply chain data, which is the integration of supply chain activities and the data associated with those. The smart warehouse, bringing technology to drive efficiency inside the warehouse. The IoT, or Internet of Things for transportation, which is, again, connecting assets and drivers to the internet. And then end-to-end visibility. So not a new topic, but the way I think about it is bringing visibility that creates value. There's lots of tools out there, but I think you need to tie in the value piece. All right, so the digital supply chain, it's a huge slide, really busy, lots of flows, lots of arrows. I think it probably brings up more questions than answers of, when I talk to customers, it's all about, well, what's the ROI? I know that sounds cool, and what's the ROI, and how do I get started, how do I implement it, and it doesn't work for my industry, and what's a must-have versus a nice-to-have. I think there's probably a lot of you in the room that have these capabilities, or some of the capabilities. You've got WMS, you've got a TMS, you've got dashboards. But the power in the digital supply chain, in my mind, is around the integration of all these and the data that comes out of it. I think of ourselves in the 3PL space and as very much problem solvers. And all too often we solve problems with the wrong data, or we solve the wrong root cause. There's huge value in the output of the digital supply chain to kind of help you more quickly get to the real root cause and more reliably solution it. There's a survey that was done in the Harvard Business Review that I thought was important to share because I just believe it to be really what's going on. 106 C-suite executives were surveyed, and 85% strongly agreed that their organizations were bad at problem diagnosis, and 87% strongly agreed that this flaw carried significant costs. So I know I saw the session this morning on the digital supply chain. From just an operator that owns a P&L, and I think about costs, and my customers, if you're going to spend money, you better save me money. And I think the missing part, we're going to show robots and electronics and different things. It's the data that comes out, how well you handle the data, and can you use it to solve problems. All right, so here's a more simplified approach, kind of to help you get your head around it. Plan versus predictive. This is traditional versus the digital. Delayed versus real time. Rule-driven versus machine learning, and then optimizing shipments versus optimizing multiple variables, shipments and profit and customer experience, product damage, to name a few. Then back to the Internet of Things for transportation. Again, it's connecting the equipment and drivers to the internet, and I think there's a lot of benefits for shippers today around operational efficiency and sustainability. If you think about a dispatcher being able to manage real-time fuel efficiency of their fleet, and then being able to manage driver effectiveness as well. And are they doing lead-foot starts? Are they doing heavy braking? Things like that. The other exciting opportunity is around predicting shutdowns, right? Predicting engine shutdowns or breakdowns before they happen. with reliability. I've got a lot of brands customers as well as retailers, and you've got to ship on time or you find yourself paying fines. And so I think, to be able to eliminate or minimize the amount of breakdowns through this technology is exciting, and certainly an enabler for real-time visibility. End-to-end visibility, I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I think there's a lot of different solutions for this. We've got an application called Ryder that we've developed with our partners that brings supply chain activity, makes it visible, and then has dashboards and that sort of thing. And Tom will be available at our booth if anybody's interested in talking more about it. It's booth 627. All right, so with that, we're going to get into our smart warehouse video. You're going to see autonomous forklifts and drones, sensors, and wearables.
On the outside, a smart warehouse looks like any other building. On the inside, innovative technology like autonomous vehicles, drones, sensors, and wearables are creating a more intelligent supply chain. At Ryder, we're using these technologies to deliver the 5 key attributes we identified that define a smart warehouse. Automate where necessary, remain nimble, scale instantaneously, deliver 100% real-time visibility, and provide a customer-centric experience. Here's a quick look how each technology functions in a smart warehouse. Autonomous vehicles, such as forklifts and transporters, provide efficient and reliable solutions for moving goods, improving visibility and increasing productivity. In Ryder managed warehouses, automated forklifts produce 20% operating savings. Aerial drones travel through facilities, mapping the warehouse and updating data on inventory and facility conditions. Manually, this task could take up to 1 day for 2 or more employees and at least 1 scissor lift to complete. Using a drone, the task can be completed up to 66% faster. Sensors and identification tools automatically locate and profile warehouse inventory to capture and communicate data while providing real-time visibility. Sensor types include safety, motion, light, and climate control that are integral in chain of custody reports as they minimize risk, improve accuracy, and cut costs. Wearable technology creates the capability to exchange data between devices and the network to support core processes such as shipping, receiving, routing, inventory management, picking, and replenishment. At Ryder managed warehouses, wearables decrease the time it takes to pick and scan inventory by 5 seconds per item and improves efficiency by 20%. Ryder is building the warehouses of tomorrow today. With smart warehouses that are flexible, automated, scalable, and customer-focused, supply chains can quickly become the most valuable tool in driving efficiency and meeting customer needs. Consumers are getting smarter. It's time your warehouse does too.